Hi everyone, my name's Sam and welcome to another episode of a show on this channel I simply call Technology. A show where I show you anything technology related, whether it be old or new. For this episode, I got a 3D printer. And I'll be unboxing it, setting it up and printing my very first 3D print. This is going to be great because I've never seen a 3D printer in my life. I haven't even seen or held anything 3D printed before. By the way, I want to thank everyone that has subscribed so far. It has been a real challenge to get the channel to 250 subscribers. So thank you everyone. Okay, so before we begin, I just want to point out that this is not a tutorial. This is just me documenting my experience with a 3D printer. Okay, so the unboxing. It didn't really turn out the way I thought it would. My video ended up being a complete mess. I had the camera angle all wrong. I had my top-down camera in view of the main camera, and the top-down camera was not even in focus. Also, I really don't know any of the printer part names, and I just feel that the unboxing would be extremely boring. I also bumped the top-down camera with my head a few times, so even if it was in focus, it would have been a bit shaky. I will spare you watching all of the unboxing part. If you really do want to see an unboxing of an Ender 3 version 2, there are far better unboxing videos on YouTube. But saying that, this video is not a complete loss, as I still have a lot of great footage to show you. So the next thing I do is start putting the printer together. For this part of the video, I created a build lapse because it took quite a long time to put together. During the build process, I am constantly checking the user manual and looking up YouTube videos for help. One of the great things about getting a 3D printer nowadays is that there is such a big online community with many videos about almost every issue or problem you could run into. As you know, this is my first 3D printer, so it's all very new to me. Eventually, I get the printer 100% built. It wasn't too difficult. It just took a bit of time, but overall I'm very happy with how the build turned out. Next, I peel off the plastic from the small screen. It doesn't peel off as smoothly as I thought it would, but I eventually get it all removed. I also peel off the plastic from the build plate. To do this, I had to remove the metal clips that hold the glass onto the plate. Now I lower the build plate just to give it a basic starting point, so I can eventually level the bed. I just work my way around and adjust each of the knobs until the bed is lowered to a good starting point. Hi, thank you for watching so far. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. This will help me out a lot, thank you. Next, I adjust the Z-axis limit switch. This is a small micro switch that is set up in a way that prevents the nozzle from hitting the build plate. Once the bed is leveled, the nozzle would be limited to around 1/10 of a millimeter away from the build plate, physically preventing damage. Then I do some bed level testing, just to make sure the nozzle is not going to scratch the build plate when I do the main bed leveling. Next, I check to see if the voltage selection switch is set to the correct voltage for my country. In New Zealand, the wall socket voltage is 230 to 240 volts. The next thing I do is plug the printer in, and then switch it on. To my surprise, I hear a strange fan noise. It sounds like the fan is hitting a wire or something. It is quite loud and annoying, however, it was easily solved. I simply moved the shroud around a little bit and I moved the cables and the Bowden tube and the noise went away. I set auto home using the printer's LCD screen. This is important to do as I will be using some G-code to help me level the bed. And one of the requirements of using this G-code is that you set auto home. This is so that the G-code knows where to start from. I also set the bed temperature to 60 degrees Celsius to eliminate any temperature-based size variation in the bed. Then I insert the micro SD card. Okay, so I insert the micro SD card, this time the right way up. It is supposed to go upside down. Yes, it's not very intuitive, but when you know, you know. Then I select the Ender 3 bed level G-code, then push in the knob switch to activate it. And here we go, something is happening. I try and put the piece of paper under the nozzle and realize that this is not the easiest thing to do for a 3D printer beginner like me. So I just kind of let it run and get comfortable with it moving around. Once I get comfortable with it, I try again, and this time I'm a bit more confident with putting the piece of paper under the nozzle. Working with the bed leveling script, you have to work with it as it's all based on time, so you only get a certain amount of time to make the adjustment, and that can be quite strange at first. It runs through about 3 times, and each time it runs through, the nozzle will stay in one place for a shorter amount of time. Overall, it's very good as long as you set auto home first. It's a really nice way to level a bed. I learned about the bed leveling G-code script from a channel called BB3D, run by a person named Brian Vines. He is a really helpful person when it comes to knowledge and information about 3D printers and upgrades. A link to his Ender 3 version 2 video that I followed to build my Ender will be in the description. There he provides a link to the G-code on Thingiverse. This is the Pier Designs Thingiverse page, where you can download the bed leveling G-code. It looks like they have made one for the CR10, that's the Creality CR10. It's a different printer, and there seems to be different versions for each printer. I download the Ender 3 level G-code, as this also works for the Ender 3 version 2. The next thing I do is go to thingiverse.com and download the 3D Benchy printer benchmark. All I do is select the 3D Benchy STL file and save it to my hard drive. Then I download and install Ultimaker Cura. It is a 3D model slicing software that's pretty amazing and also free. I load the Benchy STL file into Cura. I do think it looks quite neat. Keep in mind that this is still one of the first things I've ever loaded into Cura. I think it looks very interesting. I click Slice and it processes the slicing algorithm, and it says it will take 1 hour and 55 minutes to print. By default, the layer height is set to 0.2mm with a 20% infill. I will also point out the nozzle temperature and bed temperature is the default after selecting generic PLA. That's around 50 degrees Celsius for the bed and 200 degrees Celsius for the nozzle. I then save the G-code to my hard drive, then copy the file to the micro SD card that was supplied with the printer. Next I install the filament. I place some black PLA that I ordered with my printer onto the spool holder. Then I put a small angled cut into the filament to help guide the filament into the Bowden extruder. After that I set the nozzle temperature to 190 degrees Celsius. This is done so that when I push the filament down through the Bowden tube, it makes its way to the nozzle, where it will be melted and extruded out the end of the nozzle. So now I reinsert the micro SD card, this time the right way up, which is upside down. Then I use the control knob to select print and scroll down, then select the Benchy benchmark print. And here we go. Everything is set up, the bed and nozzle were preheated. The printer seems to be doing a self-auto home, which I think is really good. For the first part of the print, it seems to do a little line of filament down the left-hand side of the bed. I think this is just for ensuring that the flow of filament is correct once it starts the print. Now here we go. The print has started, and I can say right now that I am actually pretty excited and very happy with how this is turning out. As you can see, it's printing the benchy very well. We are 6 minutes into the print and it has 2 hours and 13 minutes remaining. I come to check on the print as I do every few minutes, and everything seems to be going well. But hang on a minute. That doesn't really... Is it supposed to be doing that? It kind of looks... I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to look like that. Yeah, something's definitely wrong here. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to my first ever print. Even though it doesn't look good and there's stuff all squiggling out, I'm still a proud man. So I decided to load the benchy file back into Cura in an attempt to make a few changes. The first thing I do is set the bed temperature from 50 to 60 degrees Celsius. This is just because it's winter at the moment and it's pretty cold here. This time I make sure adhesion is selected, and I also enable brim adhesion. Again, this is just because it's very cold and I want the model to stick down as good as possible. It seems that in any other conditions, such as having warmer ambient temperatures, you wouldn't need the brim while using PLA. So after fixing the G-code, I start the print again, and it looks like this time it's going to be successful. I created a short time lapse here to show what's happening. And here we go. We have success. Finally, the benchy has printed successfully. And here we are watching the final layers go on the chimney. At this point, I'm completely blown away by the quality of the print. It's truly amazing. It really gets my imagination ticking over. And here is the result, 100% printed. Again, I'm very impressed with how this turned out. A lot better than I thought it would. I decided to take the benchy out to the workshop and try and remove some of the extra plastic that made up the brim around the bottom of the benchy. And here we have it, all finished and cleaned up. I do notice that the x-axis is actually not perfectly aligned, as the right side is 13.8 centimeters high and the left side is 14.3 centimeters high. So I'm quite impressed I was able to get such a good print even though the x-axis was not aligned. So next I take some steps to try and fix the alignment. The first thing I do is loosen the rollers on the z-axis passive block. Then I place a rule next to the right hand side of the x-axis to help me measure the amount of adjustment I need to do. Although I'm blocking it from view, the roller I'm turning now is actually an eccentric bolt. When you turn these bolts, it changes the distance between it and the z-axis profiles. This helps me adjust the height of the x-axis on the right hand side. After I've had the printer set up for some time, I do notice that there are actually two of these eccentric nuts, one on the left side and one on the right side. These can both be used to help level the x-axis. So now that everything is aligned correctly, I move the printer out into the workshop where it will remain from now on. After I move the printer to the new location, I re-level the bed just to make sure that everything remains level, as simply moving the printer can alter this. Overall, I'm tremendously impressed with how amazing 3D printer technology is, and I look forward to designing and printing some of my own stuff very soon. Okay, so that was my experience with the 3D printer for the first time, and as you can see, this is very impressive. It's very clean. I would consider that to be a very successful print. And overall, with the 3D printer experience, I'm extremely happy with how it's all turned out. Even though there were a few hiccups that I had, like the x-axis not quite being aligned, but that's alright. I got that sorted out thanks to the help of the community on YouTube. None of this would be possible if it wasn't for all of the people on YouTube making videos and helping each other out. So I just want to say thanks to everyone who does that. So the next thing for me in regards to 3D printing will be experimenting with some of my own models and my own prints. I'm looking forward to using Blender 3D. I've actually got around 8 years of experience using Blender 3D. So if you'd like to see what I come up with or what I work on, then stay tuned. So this brings us to the end of the video. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. If you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. You may also like to check out some of my previous videos, here and here.